Now on Sunrise and streaming on crossroadstoday.com. Multiple fires broke out across the state, and here locally, the details are just ahead. And two American brothers returned to the U.S. after a years-long travel ban. Coming up, the new investigation they face. Plus, we share an update from the city of Victoria on Tejas Fest.
Those very breezy winds that we saw yesterday, Tuesday, that brought us the wildfires. Luckily, thankfully, they're on the decrease for today. Not as breezy, but the dry weather that we saw yesterday, that'll continue, and we may have some more next week. All that in the weather coming up.
The Shiner softball and baseball faced the Bloomington Bobcats yesterday to start up District Play. I'll tell you how they did coming up in sports.
Watching 25 News Now, Sunrise. Good morning, Crossroads, and happy Wednesday. Happy Ash Wednesday.
That's right. Happy Ash Wednesday. Hope you are all doing great on your wonderful weather Wednesday. It's about 6:31, and guess what? It's going to be another pretty day.
Well, yeah, that's good news because a lot of people are going to be heading to their places of worship to get those ashes and to basically declare what they're going to give up for the next couple of days.
That's right. There's going to be a lot of things I'm sure they're going to be giving up over the next several days because yesterday was Fat Tuesday, and that was the last day they could eat those yummy foods.
I did get some gumbo.
Oh, did you? That's right. You said you were going to give up sushi. Well, we're going to see how that turns out. But if you're tuning in with us right now, it turns out we got a very pretty sunrise over us. You got some pink in the sky right now and a very bit of a chilly morning right now as well, starting out at 54 in Victoria. All that thanks to a very, very weak cool front that is actually blowing through us right now as we speak. You can see that as indicated by their north winds sustained at about 8 miles an hour. That's bringing our humidity down to a much more comfortable 53% this morning. And you can actually see those winds all across the crossroads sustained at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. We're gusting up to 15 miles an hour at times, and that will pick up a little bit over the next couple hours, and we'll look at all that later on Sunrise. Because temperatures right now all across Texas, you can see a bit chilly up in North Texas in the Panhandle. They're a couple degrees below freezing, but all of us in the crossroads, we're not that cold. We're all in the low and mid 50s this morning. And humidity right now, that's still in about the 30-40% range, so it's still a little bit dry out there, but it will be drier this afternoon. So if you're sending your kiddos at the door this morning, it's going to be a bit chilly right now. Maybe grab that blanket jacket, but it's going to be beautiful this afternoon. We'll look at all that coming up next.
Multiple fires broke out in Sinton, 65 miles south of Victoria. The National Weather Service issued a shelter-in-place for the entire San Patricio County Tuesday afternoon, and all residents of Sinton were ordered to evacuate. KIII reports at least 20 structures were burned. The fire now stretches 700 acres and is 65% contained. That's per the National Interagency Fire Center. A downed power line is to blame for igniting a fire in southern Victoria County Tuesday afternoon. The wildfire, fanned by high winds and low humidity, spread quickly along Fleming Prairie Road about a mile west of Highway 77. Around 3 in the afternoon, fire crews from all over responded to the fire call and were able to get the fire under control at around 6:30. Fire officials on scene say the high winds, dry grass, and low humidity fueled the fire, allowing it to spread so quickly.
Fire burned approximately 350 acres. We do have 100% containment at this time. There were no major structural losses and no injuries.
The fire threatened about 15 to 20 homes, but fire crews were able to contain the fire before it could spread. Another wildfire burned just west of Midfield in Matagorda County Tuesday. Crews were able to contain the fire that broke out at around 4 yesterday evening. 7 volunteer fire departments were on scene battling the flames. The fire burned about 100 acres and crews were able to fully contain it by 7:30 in the evening. 2 people died after a one-vehicle crash in Yoakum. 21-year-old Peyton Robert Giral, the driver, and 17-year-old Francesca Solis, a rear passenger, died at the scene of Hahn Road and Farm to Market Road 682. 2 others, Fred Lawrence Rosales Jr. and Justine Cruz, were hurt. Cruz remains in a San Antonio ICU. Troopers say the crash happened early Saturday morning when the truck traveled too fast for heavy fog conditions, hit a tree, overturned, and caught fire. The investigation is ongoing and an autopsy has been ordered for the driver. Prosecutors in Florida have opened a new criminal investigation into 2 brothers, Andrew and Tristan Tate. The online influencers arrived there last week after years in Romania where they face serious charges over their behavior with women.
This morning, Florida's Attorney General opening a criminal investigation into American brothers Andrew and Tristan Tate, who are charged with human trafficking in Europe. The Florida AG saying, based on a thorough review of the evidence, I've directed the Office of Statewide Prosecution to execute search warrants and issue subpoenas in the now active criminal investigation into the Tate brothers. The two social media influencers with millions of followers were arrested in 2022 and indicted in Romania on charges of luring women to that country for sexual exploitation. Andrew Tate, a self-described misogynist, was also charged with rape. They deny the allegations, arriving in Florida last week after Romania suddenly lifted their travel restrictions.
We live in a democratic society where it's innocent until proven guilty.
Governor DeSantis saying the brothers are not welcome in Florida, where one of their alleged victims lives. Andrew Tate on a podcast Monday claimed DeSantis is caving to media pressure.
I don't know why Ron's answer wasn't, he has an American passport. The judicial system in Romania, which I know absolutely nothing about, decided to let him fly, and he's flown to his home country.
The Tates were big supporters of President Trump during the campaign. The Financial Times reports the Trump administration pressured Romania to allow the Tates to leave. President Trump has denied knowing anything about it.
The British government could also request the brothers be extradited to face rape and human trafficking charges there. Rhiannon Alley, ABC News, New York.
President Donald Trump could unveil trade deals with Mexico and Canada as soon as today. A source says Trump and the Canadian Prime Minister are talking today, and the Vice President is set to visit the southern border. The deals probably won't mean pausing the 25% tariffs on Mexican and nearly all Canadian goods that started Tuesday. Mexico's president says she plans to announce retaliatory measures Sunday, and Canada is imposing a 25% tariff on some U.S. goods now, with plans to include more later. The Department of Government Efficiency cuts could mean the closure of Victoria's Social Security office. The DOGE website shows the Victoria office is listed under lease terminations. The information shows the annual lease cost is more than $320,000 a year, and the lease termination will save more than $1.1 million. A spokesperson with the Social Security Administration sent us a statement saying, "We are working with GSA to review our leases and ensure they are used efficiently. Most of the leases we are not renewing are for small remote hearing sites that are co-located with other federal space. As a majority of our hearings are held virtually, we no longer need as many in-person hearings locations." The city of Victoria has decided to host Tejas Fest for a second year. In its first year last October, Tejas Fest ended with a budget deficit of more than $140,000. Officials say that this is due to spending more than expected on music entertainment. The council approved a budget amendment to cover the additional expenses, and they're moving forward with plans for the event to be held again this October.
I mean, it just means a lot that we can, have that direction and that vision from council. The council supports our vision for the event, have that direction for them and that approval to move forward.
Tejas Fest started during the city's bicentennial year and replaced Boot Fest, which had been held the first weekend of October each year. Remember, follow us on YouTube, Crossroads Today, hit the like button and click that notification bell. The time is now 6:39 on our Wednesday morning. Here's a look at what's coming up next on 25 News Now Sunrise. A Crescent Valley resident is raising concerns about cars parked close to her home.
President Trump speaks before a deeply divided Congress. I'm Nicole D'Antonio in Washington, breaking down the key moments from his address.
And also coming up next after the break in the short-term forecast for today, it's going to be a beautiful day all across beautiful Texas, but in the background, it's going to be another dry day, and we'll take a look at all that coming up next. Well, good morning, Crossroads. You're looking live and clear and a bit chilly Cuero right now, starting out our day at about 51 degrees this morning. So if you're about to head out the door, I might maybe grab a light jacket. Otherwise, you can see winds have nicely calmed down for us, down to sustained 3 miles an hour. But we do have a couple wind gusts reported at times at about 10 to 15. So, but those winds will pick up, and we'll look at that here in a second, because today, all day long, thanks to that dry air filtering in not only at the ground but above our heads, it's going to be sunny. And actually, this whole time I've been pressing play, and you saw there's not a cloud in the sky up until the overnight time. We're going to start seeing just a few passing clouds, but otherwise I think it's going to be mostly clear tonight. And the mostly clear skies tonight is going to let our lows drop down to the mid 40s. Some might be in the low 40s in our northern counties, so a bit chilly. And today, underneath the Texas sun, beaming all day, is going to be about 75 the high. I'm thinking here in Victoria, which is right about where we should be, with our average is about 73 this time of the year, and our record 92 set in 1945. Thankfully, we are not getting that hot, because we're going to be very dry today. And if you add those two together, it would be very bad fire weather. But in the background today, temperatures, like I said, most of us getting to the mid 70s. Some of us might hit the low 70s. But in the background tonight, underneath the mostly clear skies, you can see dropping down to the mid 40s, some in the low 40s. And in the background today, winds today, especially in the morning time, going to be gusting up to 20, 25 miles an hour. But in the afternoon, they should be dropping down to 20 mile an hour gust. And those breezy winds will bring us some more humidity, going to be very low, between 10 to 20% in some areas, and also some more pollen today. Very high tree pollen and high grass pollen. So I might recommend another allergy pill for today. But for the rest of this week, well, we got some more beautiful spring weather coming our way before we warm up this weekend. All that coming up next.
All right, good morning, Crossroads. And yesterday we had the Shiner Comanches facing the Bloomington Bobcats in softball and baseball. They're in softball. The Shiner Lady Comanches, they beat up their Bloomington, winning 30-0. And they got big contributions from Morgan Linehan and other Lady Comanches. And now they improved to 13-2 overall and 2-0 there in district. And Lady Comanches, they are back in action this Friday. Now over to the baseball team. They also play Bloomington at Bloomington High School area. And two of the star players there were Bo Bohm and Landon Christensen were big parts there for Shiner to get the win there last night at home. And the Shiner baseball team is back in action versus Brazos this Friday. This is Max Williams, 25 News Now Sports.
President Trump delivered his first address to a joint session of Congress since returning to the White House, making headlines on everything from the war in Ukraine to tariffs.
To the White House, President Trump addressing a deeply divided Congress.
America is back.
Speaking for a record hour and 40 minutes, the president touting his accomplishments during his first 6 weeks back in office.
It has been nothing but swift and unrelenting action to usher in the greatest and most successful era in the history of our country.
The president spent little time talking about the economy, but defended his sweeping new tariffs against some of our largest trading partners, including Mexico, Canada, and China. Economists warning those tariffs could drive up costs on things like gas, groceries, and cars. But Trump doubling down.
Other countries have used tariffs against us for decades. There'll be a little disturbance, but we're okay with that.
The speech coming as many Americans remain on edge over inflation. Uncertainty over the tariffs continued to send markets tumbling on Tuesday. The president also zeroing in on the war in Ukraine and reciting a letter he received from Ukrainian President Zelensky after that explosive Oval Office meeting.
It's time to end this senseless war.
The address at times becoming heated. Several Democratic lawmakers repeatedly interrupted the president's speech, including this moment when Congressman Al Green stood up and yelled that Trump had no mandate just minutes into his speech. Speaker Johnson directing the sergeant-at-arms to remove him. Michigan Senator Elissa Slotkin giving the Democratic response, saying his administration has no credible plans to fight inflation.
Do his plans actually help Americans get ahead? Not even close. President Trump is trying to deliver an unprecedented giveaway to his billionaire friends.
Slotkin went on to say some of Trump's policies could move the country into a recession and warned he could endanger Social Security. Nicole D'Antonio, ABC News, Washington.
And that leads us to your viewer poll. You can scan the QR code on your screen to take part. We want to know, did you watch the president's address to Congress? All right, let's take a look. 56% of you say yes, and 43% of you say no. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part in our viewer poll. A Crescent Valley resident says she's in danger every time she leaves her driveway, and she's looking for help from Victoria County commissioners. Crescent Valley resident Mary Elva says several parked cars on the shoulder of Highway 185 block the view of oncoming traffic, making merging onto the highway dangerous. Over the weekend, one of the cars caught fire. She's tried to report this problem to local leaders, but hasn't gotten any answers.
Out over here, but when I come across to cross over, you've got all these vehicles in the way. I've talked to the constable. I've talked to Myers, won't pick up his phone. Rivera didn't want to give me his number. It's ridiculous.
Elva hasn't had any accidents yet, but she's looking for prompt assistance and is concerned about the lack of a response coming from her elected leaders. Precinct 1 County Commissioner Danny Garcia says they've sent the sheriff's office over to the neighbor's home to get them to move the cars. He went on to say it's mostly a TxDOT issue. We've reached out to TxDOT and we're waiting to hear a response. The all-time leading scorer in NBA history hit a notable milestone Tuesday night. LeBron James is now the first player in league history to score 50,000 career points. That includes games in the regular season and playoffs. The Lakers star hit the mark in front of the home crowd in LA. James entered the game against the New Orleans Pelicans with 49,999 points. His first quarter three-point basket did the trick to put him over the 50,000 mark. And we have an update to an exciting story we brought to you earlier this week. Much loved pair Jackie and Shadow are parents to two fuzzy babies. The chicks began hatching over the weekend and both had arrived Tuesday morning. The doting parents are keeping a close eye on the new arrivals, keeping them warm in Big Bear's cold, windy conditions. You can watch the family on camera set up by Friends of Big Bear Valley. The time is now 6:48 on our Wednesday morning. Still to come on Sunrise, an update on who will make the final call on probationary employees being let go or not. All right, it's time to celebrate some birthdays. Happy birthday to Jacoby. Jacoby, you are such an amazing person. We're so proud of you and all of your accomplishments. May God continue to bless you in all that you do. Happy 21st birthday. We love you from Mom, brother Xavier, and your whole family.
Ooh, a big happy 21st birthday, Jacoby. Happy birthday. And Ava Mendez, star of Training Day, Too Fast, Too Furious, and The Other Guys. Well, she's turning 50 today. The big 50. Happy birthday, Ava. And to see your birthday wish live on 25 News Now Sunrise, just head on over to crossroadstoday.com. Click the drop-down menu, then click the Home tab, and then you'll see Submit Your Birthday Photo.
All right, the time is now 6:49 on our Wednesday morning. Happy birthday if you're celebrating one today.
That's right, happy birthday. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Well, good morning, Crossroads. I hope everybody is staying all safe and sound after the wildfires that we had breaking out around our area yesterday. All that thanks to the extremely dry conditions we had, with humidity values being reported all the way down to 1% in some of our southwestern counties, and wind gusts up to 55 miles an hour at times. All of that is thanks to this monstrous upper level low pressure system that you can see marching northeastward across our country right now. You can see some very, very dry air filtering in at the ground and above our heads, coming in behind that over into our beautiful state of Texas, which is why we're going to see lots and lots of sunshine for the next several days. But if we turn our attention to the west, over to the Pacific, we've got yet another upper low system that is out there, actually starting to slowly make its way onshore over the western coast. This system right here, very large in nature, it's kind of similar to the last one, will bring us another front, also similar to the last one, which actually the front is blowing through us right now, which is why it's a little bit chillier out there this morning. And timing out that front, that system will move over the mountains and coming into Texas on Saturday, which is why I think the front will pass through us sometime late on Saturday. And I do think that this coming front on Saturday will drop our high temperatures down to the upper 60s. Bit cool for just one day and also very breezy, but we will be right back into the 70s as we go into mid next week. But it will also bring with it more dry conditions. As you can see, humidities are dropping back into the 20%, maybe even 10% range as we go into Sunday and Monday, possibly bringing more wildfire weather because we're still under drought conditions. So with all that in mind, make sure to practice more fire safety over the next several days as we're expecting more dry weather. All that and more coming up next.
The Trump administration now says it's up to federal agencies to decide if probationary employees will be dismissed. Tuesday, the administration revised a memo that's to specify that agencies, not the Office of Personnel Management, make the decision. The update comes days after a federal judge halted layoffs at some agencies, saying the OPM does not have the authority to direct other agencies to dismiss their employees. A federal employment law expert says the Trump administration's memo revision does not change the fact that the layoffs were illegal. Some fired federal employees are being asked to return to work immediately. An unknown number of U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention workers received emails on Tuesday that rescinded their termination letters from last month. One laid-off worker says he and several other colleagues got the email. The email apologized for the disruption caused by their firings and asked them to report to work starting today. More than 700 CDC workers were fired last month. Still to come on Sunrise, news to know before you go. Learn why several prison employees were placed on leave. "15 staff members at a prison in upstate New York have been placed on leave after 22-year-old Messiah Nantwi, an inmate, died over the weekend. Authorities have not said what led to his death, but the New York Times reported that several inmates say Nantwi had been brutally beaten by corrections officers. His death comes nearly 3 months after another inmate died at a different prison less than a mile away. The number of Americans applying for British citizenship reached a new record last year. A historically high volume of about 1,700 applications were submitted during the last quarter of the year. That's when President Donald Trump was re-elected. In all, more than 6,100 U.S. citizens applied for UK citizenship in 2024. Fewer than 5,000 did so in 2023. The last time such an upswing was seen was in 2020. Big deadlines are coming up for the May election. April 3rd is the last day to register to vote. Early voting runs from April 22nd to April 29th, and April 22nd is also the deadline to apply for a mail-in ballot. And Election Day is May 3rd. Students removed their pro-Palestinian artwork displayed at the University of North Texas 2 days early after state lawmakers complained that it and a lecture are anti-Semitic. Read the story by the Texas Tribune on CrossroadsToday.com. And we want to invite you to experience our digital streaming service, Crossroads Today Plus. You can find it on your connected TV. Just search on your Amazon Fire TV, Roku, Apple TV, and Android TV for Crossroads Today Plus. And now let's get a look at a dusty sunrise with Parker. Parker, how's it looking out there?
That's right, Carolina. Look at your screen. We got some dust over the coast this morning in Port Lavaca. That's why it looks super duper hazy right there on your screen. All that dust, believe it or not, has come all the way from the Panhandle, if you believe that. Right now, starting out the day in Port Lavaca, a little bit chilly. Might maybe grab a light jacket. 56 degrees right now. Humidity much more comfortable though, 55%. And today it is going to be a beautiful day. So any fishers or mariners out there on the coast, we're looking for slightly choppy waves, especially through mid-morning when we have a small craft advisory in effect until noon for those breezy winds, but they will be dying down with low tide in the morning, high tide in the afternoon time today. In Port Lavaca, looking for a high in the background of 75 under some beaming Texas sunshine. And in Victoria, about the same thing, a little bit breezy in the morning, like I said, and dry in the afternoon, and a little bit cooler in Cuero, high of 74 for today. But if you're a fan of that, well, we're going to have that weather for another day tomorrow, and then we're right back to the breezy winds this weekend, warm mid-80s, and then guess what? We got another near repeat scenario. More breezy, dry weather comes our way next week.
All right, thank you, and thank y'all for being with us. Be sure to join Shauna Dawn, Maclovia Max tonight for 25 News Now at 5, 6,